If you would, open your Bibles. We'll continue to go on with. Sorry, I didn't think my green light was on. I didn't mean to breathe in the speaker on you. We'll continue to go on with our study. The topic, the mini-series. I love these mini-series, and the Lord gives them to me from time to time. But the have-tos of the Christian vocabulary. We'll go on to another one. And I thought we were going to do one on singing this evening, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is. And last night, as I laid my head down, the Lord took me a different direction. And so when I got done with work this afternoon, I tried to go back to the singing part, and the Lord just didn't let me go there. Go to Numbers 11 as we continue to think about the have-tos of the Christian vocabulary. We think about manna, we think about the children of Israel. Verse 6, we read it out of respect. We should all know it by now. I don't even think I have to look at it. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. Before we go into the main text of tonight, I want you to think about those times in your life where you just feel like your soul has dried away. Where you've absolutely taken for granted the providences of God. The provisions, the guidance, and everything He does for you. How quickly we look past the manna. I think about myself. Oh, how quickly we look past the manna. Tonight I want you to go to Romans chapter 12. I thought it only fitting that Brother Matsuda is probably doing some depositionary work right now, so I thought it only fitting to preach on Romans 12. The have-tos. I have to model Christian holiness. Now, we don't use that as our vocabulary, but it's in our every thought. I have to model Christian holiness. Not I get to model Christian holiness. In Romans 12, verse number 1, if you would go with me right there. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. I beseech you, therefore, brethren. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Our Heavenly Father, Lord, as we come before you this evening, we ask you to help us, Lord, that you would help us to rightly divide your word. Lord, that we would bring honor and glory to your name. Lord, that you just guide our words, guide our speech. Lord, let us speak for you according to your will and Lord, the desire of your message. Lord, may you give us ears to hear, words to speak. Lord, I pray that you'd help us now in Jesus' name. Amen. The life that we live, each and every one of us every day, has just become everyday normal manna. The provisions that we are granted each and every day to live a life for Christ have just become routine. The very thought of modeling holiness, we know it, we understand it, we don't do it. It is a have to. in our vocabulary. Each and every day we model holiness or we don't, all day long. It's a have to in our mind, not a get to. And I pray that the Lord would use that in us as we go through the duties. How often of this duty of modeling Christian holiness, how often do we complain? Do we shy away? Or do we run from getting to be different by the mercies of God? You know, we as people, it's really easy to come here and look and act and pretend, or maybe it's not pretending, I'm not overly critical, that we are the part of Romans 12. But it's a lot harder when the influences aren't around us. It's much more difficult when we're tossed to the world, when we're out in that battle. The things that we are not to do become, I can't do that because I have to model Christian holiness. We're not looking at the way that we live, the duties of our life, as an opportunity to witness to other people, to really step away and live differently. I want you to think about this. Being a servant of God is not work. When each one of you get up, whether your labor is at home or whether you leave to go to work for your family, now your attitude should be, I get to go to work, but let's just speak frankly. The attitude is, I have to go to work. Not many of us don't have to go to work right now. Most all of us have to get up in the morning, have to put our boots on, and have to go to work. Being a Christian, modeling holiness, modeling Romans 12 verse 1 is not a have to. It is a get to. It is something you get to do. Not everyone gets to do it. We don't have to do it. We should do it. We get to do it. This whole series on the have-tos of the Christian vocabulary should change our thought process. It should make us stop and stutter a little bit. Did you remember when you passed through the threshold of the door today not to fight? As we said last week, did you pass through your own threshold and leave everything behind you and come to the house of the Lord because you get to? I'm hoping we call some of these things to remembrance. Why do you get to live holy? Did you do something to live holy? By the mercies of God, you get to. We must remember about these have-tos and get-tos of the Christian vocabulary. In verse 1, I beseech. In Romans chapter 1, who are we talking about? Romans chapter 1 and verse number 7. To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, not to everybody, called to be saints, grace to you, and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for you all, that your faith is spoken of throughout the whole world. I don't know if you remember, but in a letter addressed to the church, I wrote that back to you, calling of remembrance of you all. When we were in the transition phase, just before actually, many people were talking to me about, oh, you went and viewed Call Murray. They're great people. Very faithful people. Many people said that. When the Lord called me to pastor the church, it continued on. Many people said that. Now, don't get heads too big. We are to be thankful that that's the report. I was thankful as the incoming brand new pastor, that was the report of you all. Now, that's who Paul is writing to. These are people that their faith has been spoken of throughout the world. I beseech means I ask or pray with urgency that you do this. These are people of great faith with faith spoken of throughout the entire world. So it is absolutely applicable to us. We have a work to do, and we get to do it. You see? These brothers and sisters of the Church of Rome is who this is addressing. I beseech you, therefore, brethren. A specific people was encouraged to live with holiness. They got to. How many people didn't get to? How many people aren't in church tonight? I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God. Why do we do these things? Why do we talk about the have-tos of the Christian vocabulary? Why do we talk about why it's so hard for us to live a holy and acceptable life before the Lord? Because we fail. We struggle. And that becomes the number one excuse, does it not? Oh, we fail, we struggle, we're not going to be perfect. You know, sometimes we use passages like Lamentations 3. Lamentations 3, verse 22, let's say. Lamentations 3, 22 and 23, we should all know it. We should love it. It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed, because His compassions fail not. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. Sometimes I think that we use that as a crutch to sin. His mercies are new every morning. It's a reset every morning. You wake up, what do you want to have? A great day. You want to live for the Lord. Oh, thank the Lord, He's merciful. So thankful for these verses, but we don't deserve any mercy that we're given. We don't deserve any mercy that's given to us. We don't deserve anything. We certainly shouldn't look at this like it's a crutch. It'll renew tomorrow. We ought to live for the Lord. In this address, I beseech you, I pray, or I speak to you with urgency. I pray for you urgently, brethren that are in Rome. By the mercies of God, I'm coming to you because God's mercies are new every morning. I know you're spoken of throughout all the world, and great is your faithfulness. But I beseech you that you present your bodies. No, it doesn't say you. Ye present your bodies a living sacrifice. The have-tos of the Christian vocabulary, you have to present your body as a living sacrifice. You have to, but oftentimes it's I have to, not I get to. We don't look at it that way. That is to crucify the flesh. In Romans chapter 8, verse number 8, verse number 7. I'll tell you what. Back up to verse number 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally or worldly minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So, because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. In verse 8, so then, they that are in the flesh cannot please God. So it goes back to the mercies of God. It goes back to presenting yourself as a living sacrifice. It goes back to the have-tos and the get-tos. You can't please God if you're in the flesh. But you get to please God in the Spirit. We must crucify the flesh. And brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you that's a hard thing to do. That's a hard thing to do. It's not something easy. It's not something we want to do. But you can't please God if you're in the flesh. Being in the flesh and holiness are two different things. So when you have to stand out and say, I have to do this because that's what the church covenant says I'm supposed to do. I have to do this because I would be disciplined. How often does your mind think that? How often does it become well, I can't do this because I would be disciplined for the church. I have to do it this way. No, I get to be a part of the church. I get to have accountability, and I must do this, or I get to do this because all God has done for me. But isn't it, how sad is it that we are more, I don't even know how I would, maybe contained? Our minds are more contained because we don't want our pride to be hurt. And so we start saying, well, I can't do these things because I can't go out and sin this way because I don't want to walk before the church and have to get right. Right? I hope that makes sense to you. It's one of those funny things where it makes sense in my head. It might not to you. But I have to get right. And you're more worried about the pride than you are pleasing the Lord. Or the pride that it takes. What is holy? I have to be holy. What is holy? Well, it starts with a purity of heart. That's something that is hard. The heart is desperately wicked. How does the heart have purity of heart? It comes by minding the Spirit, from seeking after the Lord. It means you mind your temper. Now we're getting to the practical things of life. Now, if you have a problem with your temper, see, we all can jokingly look around and go, well, so-and-so has a problem with their temper. I'll be honest, I think everyone in the room has a problem with their temper. Because you're all going to lose it at some point. Guarantee you, not one of you can raise your hand and tell me you haven't lost your temper. Because I know I sure have. So do we even meter our temper with, I have to not lose my cool because I'm not being very Christian-like? It comes down to behavior. We start getting into behavior, dispositions. Here's the real part I wanted to get to. Holy is hallowed or set apart. You get back to verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holy, hallowed, set apart. Why? You go back to living sacrifice for a second. Why do we have to present our bodies as a living sacrifice? You might say, well, that sounds crazy. That's how we think. Why do we get, now think of it this way, why do we get to present our bodies a living sacrifice? Because Jesus Christ gave His life as the death sacrifice. He died for us, so we get to live for Him. But that's not in our vocabulary most of the time. He died for us, so I have to live for Him. Do you see the negative connotation on how that sounds and where that goes in your mind? It should be, I get to live for Him. I must live for Him. The least I can do is live for Jesus Christ because He died for my sins. Not just the ones that He did before July 1st, 2009 when the Lord saved me, but for the ones I did today, for the ones I'll do tomorrow, and the ones that I'll continue to nail Him to the cross until I die. So I should be in the mindset that I get to be a living sacrifice. Not I have to be. So why do we walk through life so often and we look sad, we look upset, we look depressed, we don't look like we're happy at all? It's often because we have the mindset we have to be a living sacrifice. Not we get to. People start getting to Romans 12:1, and the first thing that comes out all the time is, well, it talks about dress or it talks about this. Well, and there's some of that too. But shouldn't we be of the mindset that we get to serve the Lord, not we have to? What is the worst thing that will happen to you if you walk out in this world and you're different? The worst thing should be the best thing. Somebody notices you. Somebody watches you. Christ is honored through looking at you, and you might get to have a conversation about it. In our human minds, that's the worst thing. Now, we go back to the word holy. After we've talked about the living sacrifice, we talk about holy. How often do you consider yourself for sacred use? I mean, how often do we really get down to it? And we remember and we understand that our use is sacred because that's what holy means. And it's not something, and here's the kicker that's going to get us all. It's not something that we should be striving for. It's something we should be doing. Because it's our reasonable service. It's the very bare bones, down minimum that we should be doing. And we should be doing it with such joy and gladness. I get to do this for the Lord. Can you earn your salvation? Can you pay the Lord back for what He's done and how merciful and graceful He's been to you? No, you can't. But you can live for Him. And you can have the mindset that when you wake up tomorrow, that you get to live holy for the Lord. Different, set apart. You get to. What is our sacred use? What is this point? One of them is in Matthew 28. Go ye therefore. One of these is for our daily ministry. Paul was telling the church at Rome, the specific people, what they needed to do as they continued living for Christ and witnessing to others. Remember, this church was highly thought of at one point. But this is what they must do. All power is given to me in heaven and earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations. You can't teach anything if you're walking around with the attitude of, I have to, not I get to. You can't live anything out in the gospel. You can't tell people about Jesus. You can't model what a Christian life is if you're walking around looking sad, upset, and depressed all the time. You can't do it if you're not willing to have a conversation. And folks, if I can tell you as candidly as possible, you certainly can't do it if you don't look like anybody can have a conversation with you. There is a point in the vocabulary that becomes about you getting over yourself and you doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that is being approachable, to talk about Jesus Christ, not hiding. I've been guilty of hiding in my Christian walk. Because you know what? It's easier to blend in and get the low-hanging fruit. We talk about that all the time. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost, then teaching them to observe all things, whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the world. That is the charge to New Testament Baptist churches, which means that is the charge to New Testament Baptist church members, which then comes out from Paul speaking to the church at Rome and then telling them to do this. The attitude cannot be, as you walk through life, I have to because of church. Because that's really what it boils down to. I have to because of church, not I get to because Jesus Christ saved my soul. And I will live for Him. I want to live for Him. There's a joke today. I didn't even get to tell my wife. Somebody needed advice. Well, I shouldn't say somebody. My boss needed advice on something. He's like, all right, Abraham, what do you have to think? I thought, why in the world did you call me Abraham? And then he said, well, can you answer me? And I did. And he goes, that's why I called you Abraham. And I thought, well, he already knows I'm a pastor, so I don't know if that's a derogatory comment or not. I guess we'll find out. But shouldn't people want to go to us? And see, we have this problem with our attitudes where we act like we don't even want to talk to people. I know I'm surely one of those at times. I deal with enough people in the day that I don't want to talk to anybody else sometimes. And I know that's terrible. Because people are rude and crude and have no common sense, and it drives me crazy. I mean, I'm being candid. I'm recorded. Somebody's either going to pause or skip or keep on rolling. But that's not how we should be. We talk a lot of work about the low-hanging fruit. In sales, right? There's a lot of people, they say this way, 2 to 3% of the U.S. market is always in the market to buy a car. That puts a lot of people ready to buy a car. And a lot of salesmen, what they want to do is let somebody come in and basically they're a vending machine and they buy a car. They don't do the hard part of the process. And I think a lot of Christians could be equally accused of just wanting to talk to people when they have questions. If you approach somebody, or if it's your family, or if it's a friend, or somebody that you're really comfortable with, that just, let's say they know you're different already. You're okay to have a Christian conversation about the gospel of Jesus Christ with them on their terms, or when it's comfortable. But I said, I believe back in 2019 in the same pulpit, what do your neighbors know of you? People drive by your house that you may not know. That drive by your house every day, but on Wednesdays and Sundays, they see that you're gone. Not many people go to the same places on Wednesdays and Sundays. Now, I know some of you are not necessarily in some sort of a residential area, but there's still people that see. My guys at work know that I leave on Wednesdays to get ready for church. They know it. There's no conversation about it anymore. And I need to take the mindset of I get to go to church more often. And we need to take the mindset of I get to witness to these people through my living more often. But how often do you really consider that you are holy, set apart for a holy purpose unto God? I would venture to say that we don't. Because we're too selfish and we forget why we're here. And that's what gets us back to the Christian vocabulary. In Leviticus chapter 20, no, I'm not reading the law, or what kind of? Leviticus 20, verse number 26. And ye shall be holy unto me. Who? For I, the Lord, am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine. We're separated, we're severed, we're called out, we're different. And ye shall be holy unto me. Are we fulfilling that? Listen, it's going to start right here. It's going to start right here in our mind. It's going to come out in our attitude. You know, I've always told people, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but eventually the truth of what's really in your mind is going to come out about how you feel. And when the truth comes out, you can't take it back. And normally it's when we hit that boiling point that the truth comes out about how we really feel. And when we hit that boiling point in our Christian walk, are you and I saying, I get to or I have to? I get to be separate or I have to be separate? Because let me tell you something. If you're walking around saying, I'm doing this because I have to be separate, you're no use to the Lord. That's a very harsh thing to say, but you're not in the right mindset. You're no use to the Lord. I get to be separate. I get to do this. You know, men, one of the things that we can speak of openly in this church between all of us is the fact of really men and women identify and dress differently. And men, you don't have to look at it quite as much as the ladies do when they go out in public. You don't have to deal with the looks and the difference and the setting apart that they have. And so, ladies, my challenge to you is your mindset, I get to look different or I have to look different? Because that's going to be huge on your overall spiritual health when it comes to your service to the Lord. I get to or I have to. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, Second Corinthians chapter 6, verse number 17, wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. There needs to be a separation between God's people and the world. How do you come out from among them when you're in it? By having the I get to mentality. Not I have to. Have to puts you in the world. Gets to makes you a light in the world. Makes you a light in your separation. Makes you a blessing to each other. In 1 Peter, I like this in 1 Peter chapter 2. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse number 9 says, "But ye, not you." That's where that command goes across to all of God's people, all of God's chosen people, not just the pastors, the preachers, the deacons, but ye are a chosen people. No. Generation. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and a holy nation, a peculiar people. That peculiar is not the peculiar that you and I think it is. A lot of you are peculiar. Actually, all of you are peculiar. I'm not. Sister Sandra, I am perfectly normal. There's nothing peculiar about me except my hairline. It's just slowly going backwards. A peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Peculiar. Do you really know what that word peculiar means? I wrote it down. Peculiar meaning you belong to one person. Ye, that chosen generation, you and I, are a peculiar people. Not odd as we think it is, but because you all are odd, but it's different. Some of you look tired. My wife looked at me and gave me that look. I've done messed up. I didn't say anything like luck from the pulpit. See, gotcha. But peculiar meaning belonging to one. Specifically owned by God. We are a special people, a peculiar people, because we belong to God. Not everybody can say that. So it gets back to that get to, not have to. I am a peculiar person because I belong to God. I get to be, as in how we finish out the rest of that verse, I get to be one that shows forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness and into his marvelous light. Now you think about what God has done for you. How he's brought you out of the darkness of sin, placed you in light. Is there anything that isn't glorious about what God has done for you? Is there any reason to why we should say, I have to, when we need to be saying, I get to be holy. I get to be different. Back in our text in Romans chapter 12, all these Bible markers, and I didn't mark Romans chapter 12. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I got 4 or 5 of them in there. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God. That means you can present it unacceptable. Which takes me right back to the thought of, I get to or I have to. You can do the service that you need to. Let's use some practical examples. Let's say it's 10 o'clock on Saturday night. Let's go a little earlier. Let's say it's like 9:09. Walmart's getting ready to close. You forgot that you have to make something for church tomorrow. Oh, man, I got to go to Dollar General or Walmart or rummage through the kitchen and see if I can find something. That's easy, ladies. I threw the dart at you. Now, gentlemen, did you see Pastor? He put out 28 mowing schedules. I have to mow? Did you see now Pastor wants us to clean on Wednesdays? Doesn't he know we all work? Yeah, by the way. Yeah. Doesn't he know we all drive an hour? Yeah. I have to clean? Don't you ever think that we need to have a better mindset? I get to clean. I get to work for the Lord. Something as simple as fellowship. It's great, isn't it? Man, you love it. You get to stand there and watch the ladies get the food around. If you're me or Brother Tyler, occasionally sneak something off the dessert. Neither one of us will deny it. Make sure it's good. We have been dubbed quality control of the desserts and occasionally anything else that looks good. But then how often do we disappear? How often is it the same people cleaning up, or the same people getting ready, or the same people getting tables around, or the same people doing this, or the same people doing that? You need to check your attitude. Because you get to do it. Not you have to do it. You need to be careful. That's a practical example. Now go with me to Deuteronomy chapter 13. Deuteronomy chapter 13 and verse number 4. Ye. Now we're back to the ye, talking about the chosen people. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him. The fear of God is knowledge to us. The fear of God will make us understand that you don't want to stand before God and say, I have to do these things. You want to stand before God and say, I get to do these things. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him and keep his commandments and obey his voice, and ye shall serve him and cleave unto him. That acceptable service before God, folks, that's something that should scare us, because that's when we should be doing everything that we should be doing. The bare bones minimum of what God has commanded us to do is to take this book and follow every single part of it. No negotiation. No, I think it means this. Following him, as in verse 4, with your whole heart. No, cleaving. Remember what we say about cleaving. Holding on like your life depended on it. You shall walk after the Lord your God and fear him and keep his commandments and obey his voice. How often do we do that? And you shall serve him and cleave unto him. The word cleave is a beautiful example of what we should be doing in our Christian walk. And if we understood how much we needed to cleave towards God in our Christian walk, our marriages would be so much better. Because we truly understand that leaving and cleaving part in our marriage. This world doesn't cleave onto marriage anymore. Because that's not an easy thing. Does God have a standard today? You better believe it. Are we still required to live according to an ordinance? Yeah, sure, the Old Testament had the Levitical law. There's no sacrifices for us. There's no animal sacrifices for us, but there is law and biblical standards in which we are to live by. And we ought to take those biblical standards with the thought of, I get to live this way, not I have to. And shame on me when I've come across those times in my life where it's been, I have to because of the church, or I have to because of church discipline, or I have to because of the church covenant. How selfish I was in not realizing how I should be. And looking at God's mercies to me. and in my life? Is the Bible your standard of living? I want you to think about that. And I want you to really, really think about that. There are some things that I was convicted over for quite some time, but I was not willing to submit to the conviction. And the Lord brought me to it. You might have something that you're convicted over. Case in point, I love music. Knew I probably shouldn't listen to some of the music that I listened to. But I loved it. And I'd turn on Christian music or hymns, and I would say, I have to listen to this. That was my attitude. Until one day the Lord changed me. And I began to think, I get to listen to this. Listen to the words. Listen to the words of these hymns. And the Lord changed my mindset, changed my heart. And I needed it. And maybe that's you tonight. Maybe it's not music, maybe it's something else. But your heart and mindset needs changed. And you'll gladly say, I get to, not I have to. As we finish this up, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. Again, it's your reasonable service because God died, or Jesus Christ died for you. There's no animal sacrifice that you can go and offer up that's going to pay your sin debt. That's expected. That's the least you can do. Live your life spiritually yielded for serving the Lord. In verse 2, I really thought this one was going to be like 35, 40 minutes. I've got another page. And I've cut stuff out. Verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. I get to be conformed. No. I have to be conformed. No, we're still missing it. I get to not be conformed to this world. That's going out and living a life in which is pleasing to the Lord because you're thankful for what He's done for you. Our society as a system that man has made to make himself happy for a moment. Just for a moment. We get the pinnacle. Our guys at work are so happy. Right? Last night, I didn't work yesterday, and I got a message. We sold, I don't know how many cars we sold Monday. We sold 19 cars in 2 days. We broke a store record for total sales at the Mayfield store ever. They were so excited. This morning at 8:15, I've got two of them arguing over something so insignificant. They want to act like it was no big deal until it actually was a big deal. That's because they got that enjoyment for just a minute. And then it's back to, we've got to go do more. We've got to one up and go farther. And this world has built a system that satisfies for a second, but doesn't satisfy for eternity. And having that mindset that I get to live for Christ, I get to be not conformed to this world, that will give you a fullness of satisfaction in a spiritually yielded life. We have to, we must, we should abandon the thought patterns and mindsets of this world. We'll try to finish this up really quick, but in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, 2 Corinthians chapter 4. In verse number 4. In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not. Remember, if you look there, that's a little g. The God of this world is Satan. In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. The get to shines the light unto them. The have to doesn't shine in at all. We get to be transformed, not conformed to this world. If you look, and we're not going to go there, but if you write down John chapter 12, verse 31, it's another passage about Satan being the god of this world. All unconverted people in this world are subjects of Satan. Satan seeks to attract them, get hold on them through the lust of the eyes, the lust of this flesh, and the pride of this world, and the pride of life. Satan wants to sink his teeth in and do anything he can. We get to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. You'll never say, I have to be transformed by the renewing of my mind. You'll always and only say, I get to be transformed by the renewing of my mind. And lastly, the world hates nonconformists. Satan doesn't like nonconformists. I get to be a nonconformist. We need to consider our ways, consider our thoughts, consider our mind. Consider every part of our life. Listen, when you wake up in the morning and life isn't going well, you get to be awake. You get to have a day that you can face and live for the Lord. The have-tos of the Christian vocabulary. We'll see what's next. I'm not exactly sure yet what the Lord's going to do with it. Consider these things. Don't be upset when you catch yourself saying, I have to do this. Just remember, Lord, help me. Go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, help me. I get to do this. All right.